recorded a whole video and realized that you did the whole thing in time lapse. So that just happened. So I got 2 Coke Zeros in me on an empty stomach. And I've got a few makeup products that I thought would be fun to put on and talk about with you. These are all things that I've seen quite a lot on social media circulating around. I was caught up in the zeitgeist again. And, you know, I try to be a little bit skeptical about that stuff and pick and choose what I do decide to purchase. But in this instance, these were all things that had piqued my curiosity for several months. When a certain behemoth online retailer, who shall remain nameless, had their annual sale, I decided to take advantage of some of the sales and try out some of these makeup products that I've been curious about. So if you would like to see a slightly rambly try on and little chit chat, then stay tuned and keep watching. I guess those mean the same thing. All right, I've got my bunny ears on, so that means I'm ready to put on some makeup. And the first thing I wanted to talk about was, you all know it, most of you love it. It is the viral TirTir Red Cushion Foundation. This has been all over social media and is mostly receiving rave reviews. I know some of that is marketing, but I like to assume that at least some of the positive feedback is being done in good faith. So with that all in mind, I decided to purchase it during Prime Day for 2 reasons. I mean, aside from just the curiosity about it, one is I liked the idea of the portable compact because I often find myself wanting to have touch-ups if I'm out. And then the other reason is because most of my foundations that I have right now are either skin tints or light to medium coverage, and I didn't have a really full coverage. And as much as it's not my go-to, you know, occasionally you want to have like more of a a mask, if you will. So I've tried it a few times, and well, first of all, I'll talk about the packaging. It's beautiful. It has this, you know, very pleasing sort of bulbosity to it, and this lovely imperial red color. And then you open it up, you've got a mirror, the little cushion, and this little flap to keep the moisture in the cushion, but it also serves as a pad to tap off excess because this is a little goes a long way product. And I have found it to be quite finicky and difficult to work with. So I will apply it to part of my face because I have another base product that I wanted to try too. So trying to tap it on. And I find when you press it, getting an even coating on all parts of the cushion is really difficult. It's also really hard to, there's a fine line between, you know, pressing too hard and getting this sort of glut of product, and then also just not hard enough and getting this kind of light. Yeah, see, it's not covering the sponge totally, so I would kind of wipe it off here. And even this, I already know from experience that this is still going to probably be too much, but and then they say to just oh no, see that's going to be a whole thing. That's way too much. They say to just kind of tap it on, and I found the best result I've been able to get is almost like treating this thing like a beauty blender and just very gingerly kind of bouncing it on. But I can already tell I've laid down way too much. The other caveat I will say, this is the 17W shade, and it's both too light and I would say too warm / yellow for my skin tone. So I don't necessarily have a completely fair evaluation because it's not the right shade. So, but yeah, I just find that it's kind of, it's easy to overdo, and doing it correctly is extremely time consuming and tedious. And it does really settle into my fine lines. Like I have quite a bit of, from constantly furrowing my brow and not having the right prescription glasses, I have lines there. So it really settles into those. Yesterday, I mean, I think I did a better job with my application of it yesterday, but we were in the grocery store, me and my boyfriend, and he like stopped and was kind of giving me a spit bath and like rubbing right here. And he's like, sorry, you just looked really wrinkly right there. And I don't think it's your wrinkles. So yeah, it had obviously set and gotten kind of crusty. The other thing I don't like about this is it has a pretty pronounced fragrance, and it's kind of that like old school, like perfumey, heavy thing, and I don't like that on, I don't necessarily mind fragrance in a lip product, but on something that I'm going to put all over my face, it's a real turn off. So as much as I adore the packaging, I don't think I would go back to this. I'm looking at it now. I do like that it does have, it's not completely matte. It's got a little bit of a shiny finish to it. I wouldn't say shiny, like satin. So yeah, it's not looking, I don't think it's looking terrible, although the tape will tell the tale, but you know, that's that. Definitely a learning curve and not the most user-friendly. And I'm sure, you know, it works great for some people. Some people are able to finesse it, but my whole thing is I don't want to have to finesse it, you know what I mean? Especially with it being portable, you know, ease would be kind of the idea with that. So that's my kind of take on it for now. Okay, so I've still got the TirTir. It's kind of fun. It has like a little tacky pew, pew. But on the other side of the spectrum in terms of coverage and in terms of, I guess, my personal like, ease of use and enjoyment would be this Covergirl Simply Ageless Skin Perfector Essence, the one with the weird little greebles in it. And you know, I'd seen this and been curious about it. I had swatched the Rose Ink Skin Tint that's very similar to this at Sephora and been like, ooh, you know, that this particular type of novelty really appeals to me. And, you know, I had liked that Rose Ink one. And then I think Chanel has one. You know, that's out of my budget for now. But, so when this came out, I was really curious and excited about it, but I balked at the price. I think it's like the most expensive foundation in the drugstore right now. It's like $21 or something, but it was on sale. I think it was like 35% off or so on Prime Day. So I was like, all right, yes, I'm gonna try it. And I have to say, if you're gonna charge, you know, 20 something dollars for a product, like, I don't know, they could do better with the packaging. Like it's very, very light, and it's just really chintzy. I think the purple is tacky as crap too. So that would be like the one thing that would kind of give me pause about it in terms of the value. But you know, you pump it out and it's got this serum and, you know, alleged skincare benefits with the pigment suspended in there, and, you know, you rub it and break it out. They say to blend it out first on your hand, but I find if I break it up entirely, it ends up kind of rubbing into my hand too much. So I do end up kind of blending a bit of the piercer side. Okay, I do end up blending some of the product on my face, and yeah, it feels really nice. I mean, it's got that watery serum sensation, and I think I've just been kind of blending it out with a brush. Yeah, see, like as I'm breaking it up, it's kind of like getting eaten by my hand. But yeah, this is something that feels kind of hard to screw up just because it is such a light veil of coverage. I will say though that it actually provides more coverage than I was expecting. And perhaps it's not the best idea to have the TirTir next to it, because that doesn't really, this is such a heavy amount of coverage that it looks like nothing. But if you were to see it next to my actual skin, you could tell that there's a lot more there. And I quite like it. Yeah, it's just, and I am wearing shade 20 light. It doesn't fully give me, you know, the amount of coverage that I would want for my rosacea. Like this in particular is sort of my Waterloo, but I still think it evens out the skin. It kind of gives a nice, pretty veil over the skin. I will say, it's looking a little streaky with the way that I'm applying it, so maybe I'll try to tap it in with this. Obviously, I'm not a makeup artist. So yeah, you can see the red is still showing through, but I do feel that I'm not as sort of intense looking. I'm actually gonna take off the TirTir so you can see a side by side. Of course, the TirTir side is gonna be extra red now since I'm rubbing it, but you know, this is not a science. So yeah, you can see it's kind of blurring a little bit. In terms of wear time, I mean, it's, you know, it's gonna slide off a little bit. It's not as slidey as, I have the Ilia skin tint, and this just, I love this. It's so beautiful, but it just like, it does not stay on. This stays on a little bit better. So I'm really liking it so far. I will say, okay, it's got 5% bakuchiol, which I guess is sort of like retinol related or similar to retinol in some way, as far as I can tell. And I did have some peeling here, but I had also started using retinol, which I didn't realize that's probably maybe not something you want to combine together. So the peeling was probably the retinol, not this, but I did have some peeling the last time I was wearing it, so just thought I'd mention that. So the next thing I have to talk about is the Peripera Ink Velvet. I got the shade 02 Celeb Deep Rose. And this is a Korean product also. Those sort of matte, velvet, blurring, cushiony lips that we've been seeing. So with this, you know, you get this really kind of pleasing, moussey, creamy, matte product. And I find if you just put it all over the lips, it kind of looks insane. So I just do a little bit, you know, kind of here, and then try to just tap it out, kind of rub it. So I'm still, you know, kind of playing around with this and in my learning process. I sort of patted out and rubbed into the lips. This is the look that it gives, and it definitely stains your finger when you do that. So I'm not sure if I like it. It feels nice. It's kind of, it's soft and creamy. I feel like it can definitely settle into lines a lot and get little sections that kind of pill up. But I don't know, I can see why people like this. And it's interesting because it's, to my eye, I see kind of a lot of orange in it. So it doesn't read as rose as I expected. But of course, color is incredibly subjective. So I don't know, what do you think? Do you see it as a rose? here it is swatched out. Okay, on the hand I can see it's kind of rubbed out. I don't know, it's an interesting color. I like it. The other thing I like to do is use a little gloss as a topper on it. And sorry, this this doe foot obviously has been abused. And this is a Stila gloss that my friend gave to me. It's quite pretty. It's got glitter in it, which, you know, may or may not be your thing. You definitely feel it on your lips. It's kind of, almost feels like you've got some salt or something from a margarita on your lips, which I don't mind. But yeah, I think it's really pretty with a topper of some sort. Okay, the next product that really piqued my interest and made my, you know, texture receptors tingly was the that milk water jelly tint. And, you know, that's also been all over social media, the cranberry jelly looking blusher that you can kind of press and bounce. And I was very happy the last time I went to Sephora, I was able to get my fix, and there was one that wasn't completely broken. Like, some of them looked like people had literally just like gone completely ballistic, but there was one that was intact, so I was able to very gently roll it up and do the thing. But you know, it seemed a little overpriced for what it was, and you know, a lot of people said this is basically, you know, a gimmick kind of novelty product. And I'd heard that the Undone Beauty was not a dupe, but something similar. And so I got this, and it's the 280 Merlot shade. Now, I have to say, I do not find this to be really comparable in terms of the texture at all. Like, for one thing, it is opaque, whereas the milk has that translucent jelly texture. This is not, this doesn't bounce when you touch it. It does do the same thing, you know, it's a water tint, and it does do the same thing where the pigment just kind of slides off the top of the product, as it were. And similar, I think, to milk, though, or the complaints I was hearing about the milk is it is kind of hard to control the amount that you're getting. With this, I find, yeah, I mean, it kind of sets almost immediately, so it's not the easiest thing to blend out. And it's really easy, as you can see, I've kind of overdone it a little bit. I mean, you can almost just, let me see, okay, so like that on the skin. I might have more success if let me try, I've never actually tried doing this, putting it on my hand first. So there it is, swatched out on my hand. And it feels really nice. I mean, it's got this cool, you know, watery sensation, and that kind of compels me to want to overdo it, I think, just because it feels so nice. But let me try to pick some up with the brush here. Yeah, that might be the way to go with this one. And I think this was like $10, which compared to the, oh yeah, that seems a lot less deranged to me. I think this color is a bit extreme on me too, and that might just be my own, you know, baggage with my rosacea. I'm like, I'm covering up my rosacea and then I'm putting it back on. But it's pretty. It's definitely not my go-to blush though, just because I feel like I can verge into clown territory far too easily with it. But anyway, those are my under the influence products that I have tried recently. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.